Hello and welcome to Miniature Realms. My name's Stuart and welcome to a bit of a special video really. Now you'll know what this is about because you'll have seen it in the thumbnail and you'll have seen it in the title of the video, but let's go with the drama of still opening the box anyway. So I've received a very cool package, or cool for me anyway, today from Warlord Games, who very kindly sent me some review stock of the new Epic Battles Waterloo. Now, and this is very early stuff here. At this stage, at the time of recording this video in November, the salutes just happened, and early issues of Wargames Illustrated were available for purchase there. There were some sprues on display by Warlord Games, and some of them were in grey plastic, as you see here. There's still pre-production copies of the sprues. They're still obviously working very hard to get all the stock ready for the launch in January, and we're still in the pre-order period, but I've been chatting to a couple of people at Warlord Games. Firstly, thank you very much, Alistair, for sort of indulging me and sorting me out with this, and also thank you, Gabriel, for dealing with it all and liaising with me as well and getting this sent out to me. So what I've been sent is some British stuff. Things that we'd have seen in pictures, you see on the website for the pre-order, but I don't believe, at this point of recording this anyway, that I don't think there's any other videos out there with people doing reviews of these. So I could be the first. If I'm not, I'm going to be one of the first. So let's see what I think, really. So we've got two sprues. I've got a sprue of the British. Now, I've actually got two more in the post on the way, but this was the only one available for them to send me at the time. That's how scarce they seem to be at the moment. And I do have a sprue of the British Light Cavalry. So it's the Heavy Cavalry that I've already done a review for, that those people who went to Salute were able to pick up early with Wargames Illustrated, that will be arriving in people's doors probably in about 10 days or so. So those have been seen by a few people, but the Light Cavalry I've not seen, apart from if you went to Salute and looked at the frames there. And the Infantry, again, not something that's sort of in general release at the moment. So I'm very privileged. So thanks again, Alistair and Gabriel, for sorting it out for me, and I thought I would review them for you on the channel. So let's have a little look at what I've been sent. Let's put the frames to the side for now, and let's start with the flags. Now, so the note I had in my box from Gabriel said that these aren't the production flags. I believe they've printed these themselves. The production ones will come on slightly less glossy paper, and you'll see the light shining off a little bit. I'd say they're satin here. They're not. It's not gloss. I don't think it'll be too much of an issue. I've got plenty of the flag sheets that came with the American Civil War Epic range. They are fantastic. Really good. The quality of the artwork is fantastic, and the paper, if they're the same as that, then there'll be no complaints at all. To be fair, I'd be happy with this. Absolutely fine. It's very usable. I'm not going to list all the different regiments that are covered here. You can always pause the video and try and have a look. I imagine that all of these regiments were present at Waterloo, or at very least the 100 Days campaign. I am not going to go and check all of that for you now, but there is a mix of British regiments. There's some Hanoverians ones there as well. The artwork on there seems to be slightly different. You actually see the folds and the flags a little bit more. There's folds in the other ones as well, but in terms of the artwork style, it looks slightly different. So maybe there's a different artist that did them, but no problem at all there. They look absolutely fantastic either way. And once they're folded up and you've weathered them slightly, they come out looking really good, if I'm using my experiences with the American Civil War one. So really happy with those. There's a good range on there. You know, you've got, fives, not they? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40 flags, for 40 regiments worth of flags. There's actually 80 if you include the regiment's colours and the King's colours. Very impressed with those. Next up, let's have a look at the British Infantry sprue. Now, this is what I wanted to get my hands on the most, and it excited me the most. As I mentioned sort of at the beginning of the video, that I've got two more of these sprues on the way. So essentially I've got a brigade box without the packaging and things, so it's a very early review. Now, I want to play around with these and do an awful lot of videos for you guys moving forward, but I'll talk a little bit about that at the end. Let's have a little closer look at them. So those of you who haven't followed the release or haven't looked at the pre-orders to know exactly what's there, you have an officer whether that would be a brigade commander. You could make him into a colonel or something if you wanted to. You have an artillery piece, which is a 9-pounder Royal Artillery, and then you have what would be 4 stands of British line infantry, and a stand has 2 strips on it, and they go on a 60 by 20 mil but strip base. So 1, 2, 3 and 4 stands, and then up here at the top, and I'll flip it around in a moment, there are 1 stand's worth of 95th rifles as they're listed, but I suppose they could be any rifle battalion, could be the Royal Americans, could be the 60th, all depends on how you paint them, and I'll come back to those in a moment's time. So you'll get 3 sprues in your brigade box, meaning that you can have 3 regiments of standard British line and 1 slightly smaller regiment of rifles. Let's have a closer look at the infantry. So they're in Belgic shakos, which was the 1812 shako or the Waterloo shako. I believe that they were introduced in 1812, but you didn't see too many of them in the peninsula. Those of you who are interested in Peninsular War like myself, I think the closer you got towards the end of the Peninsular War, maybe 1813 in Vittoria, maybe the invasion of France in 1814, Battle of Toulouse, that kind of thing, there may have been a few more in circulation there. Replacement regiments, replacement equipment being sent out is likely to have been Belgic shakos to replace the stovepipe shakos, but that really does depend on what source you read. I love the Peninsula. I love to do something based around that, and I'm tempted to aim for a very late Peninsula, sort of 1813, 1814 army. Let's look at the command. So you've got your 2 flag bearers there. You have drummer, you have a sergeant there, and you have an officer, and again officer with a Belgic shako. I think that would be a pretty easy conversion if you wanted to file down the hat and green stuff a bicorn on there. I think that would be a fairly easy one to do. Most people won't want to do those things, but some of us out there really like to kind of make your units a little bit more individual. Maybe it's just for a special unit or something. But these are very, very crisp sculpts, very reminiscent of the quality of the American Civil War ones. So if you liked epic American Civil War and you like the quality of the sculpt, then I think you'll like these. If you weren't a fan of it and you wanted something a little bit different, then maybe it isn't for you. But overall, very, very impressed. Now let's have a little look at the backs, and they're pretty straightforward, really, very nice and clean. And I'm thinking, as a painter here, what will these be like to paint hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them, which is what I'll be doing. And yeah, I can't see it being a major issue. I'm going to do in a moment, I'm going to clip one off the sprue and we'll just see what the mould lines are like. There we go. So I've just clipped one off the sprue, so you'll get a bit of a better idea as I slowly turn the sculpt around. They are pretty crisp. And mould lines are really minimal. So there's going to be a little bit of clean up down the edge here. Doesn't look like there's an awful lot along the top, which would have been really tricky. I think these are going to be slightly easier to clean up. I mean, the mould line's so minimal you can get away without doing it. You can easily get away with just clearing both edges, and that's pretty good. The American Civil ones are very similar, probably a slightly more visible mould line, not where they were on the hats. It might be that it's just hidden with the lip of the false front on the Belgic shako there. Now I've just clipped the artillery off the sprue, and I'll grab one of the bases from the, funny enough, the horse artillery that I picked up at Wargames Illustrated. I didn't get any bases with these. It's not glued on, and this is just snipped together, so if it falls off as I'm spinning it around, forgive me. But you can see, I think they're pretty nice. I know with the American Civil War ones we were able to kind of invert them a little bit because the wheels didn't cave in and they weren't concave at all. You could actually swap the sides that you put the men on. It doesn't work with the Napoleonic one here. So you can see the wheels are different in design, and that's obviously not the miniatures design, that's the design of the guns as they were. but you could play around with it a little bit, and then this guy at the back here, you can easily trim him off the base there and reposition where he is, just to create a little bit of variety on your bases. I know I'll definitely be doing that. When you've got lots of them all lined up, they look great, but just the odd man standing in a different position really makes a difference. But hopefully that gives you guys a little bit of idea. It's really handy actually that these are in grey plastic. They won't be in grey plastic when they're sent out. They will be in the red that you saw from the cavalry. It's purely because this is a pre-production sprue, so it'll be an early test sprue. And while we're at it, let's give you a full turn on the office itself. I really like this guy. It's not bad at all for a plastic sculpt of this size. It'd be interesting what they do with what variety we get in generals and things, but these are fairly convertible. So again, you can go and search. If you're new to the channel, go and have a look at my vlogs for the American Civil War range, and there's quite a few conversions in those. You can very easily reposition his head here. You can very easily cut that arm off at the shoulder and just reposition his arm. Just gives you a slight bit of variation. So let's talk rifles then. So this is something that's been discussed quite a lot. So on each sprue, as I've already mentioned, you get the equivalent of one stand, so 2 strips of, as they list it, 95th rifles. Now the first thing you'll notice is that they're in line, not in skirmish formation. That was one of the first comments that you saw in the community when it was announced, and it must admit it made me scratch my head a little bit as well. The quality of the sculpts themselves are absolutely fantastic. In fact, there were some leaked pictures out there. When I saw the pictures, I didn't think they were rifles because they were in line formation. Now, Warlord have explained why that is. It's on their latest blog, community blog. It's representing the fact that at Waterloo, I think at least 3 of the battalions of rifles ended up fighting in line at some point, and this is a game around that. I suppose the counter to that would be, I don't think anyone would have expected them to make rifles in line, and I don't think anyone would have said, why aren't they in line, if they hadn't made them. Maybe they would, who knows. We know what us wargamers are like for being awkward sometimes. So it's interesting, and also I suppose having one on every sprue, so you buy every brigade box you buy, you're going to have a regiment of rifles. Very soon you're going to have a big excess of rifles, an excess of rifles again in line. Now that's, I suppose, the negative side of it. The positive side of it, I absolutely love the sculpts. I prefer them to the line infantry. There's a little bit more character, and I suppose that's the more relaxed, less down into a tension kind of file. I just think they're really cool, but I'm going to be, personally going to be using them for other things, and like I've already mentioned, I'm probably going to do a Peninsula thing. They would make very nice cacadors or cazadors. They would probably paint it very well as regular Spanish infantry as well. You do have cross belts on them. So I believe blue jackets, white trousers, and black stovepipes, so they make very good. Sorry, I said Spanish, I meant Portuguese regular infantry rather than the caçadores, which are the Portuguese skirmishing infantry, the light troops really, so maybe they wouldn't be so good for that, but they would definitely work for that. And there's a lot of talk about that as well. So John Stallard on his recent interviews and things has mentioned painting conversions. Alistair, who helped sort me out with these, has done some of his own painting conversions that he's posted in the Wargames Epic Battles Napoleonic group, which is an unofficial one that Ken from Miniature Wargaming Warriors and myself have set up, and he posted some of his pictures in there, and he's painted some Dutch, and he's actually painted these as I believe the 72nd Highland, so he's just painting them slightly different to make them. Now some people are going to be aghast and swearing and disliking this video for me mentioning such a thing, but at this scale you've really got to be realistic about what works. Now that's not meant to be a defence of whether they, I know some people I've got a couple of friends that are quite annoyed that they've made 95th in line on the sprue. That's not a defence of that, I'm just saying what I'm going to be doing with it. I love this release, I love the quality of the miniatures. That hasn't spoilt it for me. Personally, would I have chosen something different? Yeah, maybe I would. Maybe I'd rather had skirmishing light troops on there, the same as the French have got. So on the French sprue, they have a 4 base or 4 stand regiment and a few voltigeurs. So if I was making the decision, then maybe I would have gone that way, but I'm still quite happy to have these. They're lovely sculpts, and I'm going to make use of them. And here we are. So this is the second thing I've been sent. So this is a sprue of the British Light Cavalry. Now, I didn't know this was coming, actually. I knew I was going to be sent some infantry, but I didn't realise that I'd get this as well. So this is a really nice surprise. Now, I've already done a review of the British and the French Heavy Cavalry sprues that I picked up at Salute from Wargames Illustrated. I'll pop a link there now. If you haven't already seen that video, go and take a look. And this is kind of very much more of the same, though I actually prefer these, and I don't know if it's just the style of the cavalry, but it feels like the quality of the sculpt is just slightly sharper. And again, it's probably just the design of the uniform and the way it's transferred onto the model, but it does feel like the details a little bit crisper on the fronts of the riders' chests and things. So again, it's probably because of the type of model rather than the sculpt itself. But again, more of the same quality you can expect from the officer that we've been looking at already. And the way the sprue is laid out is you get Royal Horse Artillery with a 6-pounder. I believe you get Horse Artillery with a 9-pounder on the Heavy Cavalry sprue, and then you've got some Light Dragoons, some Hussars in Busby hats and Hussars in shakos. Now I believe the guys with the swords in the air are Light Dragoons, and then if I flick it around, the guys with the swords pointing out there are the Hussars with shako, and then these other guys with the Busby hats here are the Hussars with Busby hats, funnily enough. Oh, he's got a slightly different bit, but they're easy to tell because you've got the Busby hat. So you've got 3 types in there. You'll get 3 sprues in a box, which means that you'll be able to have a unit of each. So essentially you get 3 bases or squadrons, 5 on a base, 3 bases of Hussars in Busby, 5 bases of Light Dragoons, 3 bases of Hussars in shako. And then a 3-gun battery of Royal Horse Artillery, and that's obviously 1 gun on each sprue. There, and I'll repeat what I did with the infantry and just clip them off the base and clip them in. They're not glued, so I'll paint them in separate parts. It's a little bit harder to see with the red plastic. I wanted to get this video recorded quite quickly and out to you. Maybe you should have primed them and zenithal them so that you can see, but I think you can see the detail well enough there. And I really like them. They got some nice character. I love the dude with his hands over his ears. Again, I think you could trim him off. There's a little bit of join there. I think it's the guys next to him's sword that's joined to his leg. No, it's not his sword, is it? It's the ramrod. I think if you get a blade down at an angle there, you could do it, but it really depends if you care about such things. But I think I will definitely try that on one of mine and reposition him. And as you can see, just like the previous one, this guy here can very easily be repositioned. So to give you some nice variety, and again, the heads can be trimmed off and then turned and stuck back on. They are small, but it's plastic, so they glue back together really, really nicely. And again, that's from experience, not with these, but with the corresponding models in the American Civil War epic range. So, and I've done quite a lot with those. And here we go. So this is a Light Dragoon. Again, as I say, I think slightly crisper maybe. I think where the detail is not quite as crisp, or not all of these models, is just on the front area of the chest there, but they are, the way they're posed and ranked up, that really won't matter. I really like them. As I said before, for me they do what they're designed to do. And you're looking at £25 full recommended retail price. You're going to be picking these up from third-party retailers for sort of £22.50, maybe even low as £20 at some places. And in that, you're getting 3 units of cavalry for that price, and 3 horse artillery pieces. You really, really can't go wrong with that. And then you've got to, for me, that's part of the kind of the context of the price and things. And just with the infantry, the same thing with the cavalry. I really like the proportions. They seem quite realistic to me, rather than the squat or quite cartoony you often get in some sort of metal ranges between sort of 10 and 15 mil. So here's a Hussar with the Busby hat. And again, this one's got more detail down the front. That'll be the jacket over the one shoulder. The sword is moulded to the side of the horse, but you know, this is a one-piece model, which you'd expect. You wouldn't want to be gluing things on at this sort of range. You got a lot more detail at the back, so I think it depends on the sculpt a little bit, but they all look fantastic side on, and then when they're all ranked up and mounted up, they look great as well. And the final one, so the Hussar with the shako. Again, quite good detail on the chest of this one. I think again, it just depends on the type of uniform and how well that lends to these sculpts and this scale. But I prefer this light cavalry brigade sprue than I did to the heavy cavalry one. But I'm an infantry lover anyway. It's all about ranks and ranks of infantry on the table. That's what really does it for me, and I know I'll be painting and focusing on my infantry a lot more than I would on the cavalry. So let me sum up there. First off, again, thank you Alistair and Gabriel at Warlord Games for sorting this out and allowing me to have these early so I could do a review for you guys, and I'll be doing a lot more with them as well. There'll be lots of content from these early releases. I think they're fantastic. They've met my expectations. I suppose my expectations with the infantry they'd match the quality of the American Civil War ones in terms of sculpt. I know some people don't like the American Civil War in terms of how realistic the uniforms are, etc., etc. That's a debate for another time in another video. But the quality of the sculpts, I don't think was really questioned, and the infantry here absolutely match up with that. As I've already mentioned, the questioning around the rifles and why you'd make that choice, the actual quality of them, and then my favourite out of all the things here is the quality of the rifle sculpts. I absolutely love them. Would I have preferred them to have something else other than that? Maybe a unit with stovepipe to cover the units that were at Waterloo with stovepipe shakos on, just a stand for each one. It could have been for light infantry or something like that. Maybe Hanoverians with the slouch caps on. Again, that would have been the same sculpt with a different head, but I think that's not been included because the expectation is you'll just paint these or use these as Hanoverians with Belgic shakos rather than slouch caps. There are a number of things you could have put there. I like them, I will make use of them, and if you can hear my cat shouting at me, please ignore it. So I'm really happy with those. They've met the expectations. I absolutely love them, and I'm going to be very excited painting them up, and I'm going to paint them up in all different ways. Cavalry wise, I really didn't know what to expect. Cavalry for the American Civil War range was released in metal, and they were very good quality sculpts. They're probably not quite as crisp as the infantry, but they're still very good. So I'm very happy overall. You've seen my other videos on it. You knew I was going to be relatively positive about this release. If you're looking to play large battles of black powder or other rules, I suppose, using these miniatures is an absolutely fantastic way to go. If you are a lover of AB miniatures and you want everything to be 100% perfect and accurate and crisp and clean, and then this release probably isn't for you anyway. But I definitely think they do a very good job of getting mass armies on the table. And for me, black powder for the average mortal who doesn't have a massive room where you can put a massive sort of 12 by 6 or even larger, 18-foot table to play the massive games, then you need to shrink it a little bit, and epic scale is a particular way of doing that. There is some questioning around the frontage and things. I'm going to cover that in a different video rather than a review of the sprues. As you know, I've got the rest of the brigade box for this in the post winging its way to me, so I will essentially have 3 regular regiments and a rifle regiment to play around with. Now I'm going to paint one standard Waterloo fare with grey trousers, etc., and I'm definitely going to paint another one with a more peninsular feel to it, so it'll be a mix of white trousers, maybe the odd brown patched, that kind of thing. And then the third one I'm not sure yet, so maybe I'll take your requests on that, so put some comments below. And I'm going to be doing some painting tutorials as I've done before with the American Civil War. And again, if you're new to the channel, We're going to have a little look at those. I will definitely paint up each of the artillery types that I've got. So I've got 2 horse artillery now, and I've got the standard Royal Artillery. And I will definitely start painting the cavalry. Technically I've got 6 types of cavalry now as well, so that could be 6 painting videos. We will see, but I'll definitely start with the infantry because I think that will be what most people are interested in. And I may look at potential conversions and ways of using the rifles in a different way. I've heard 1st of January was the goal. I don't know if it will be 1st of January, so it could be middle of January or something before these are in general release. So I've got some time to play around with them. It does mean some of my other projects might get delayed or put back. I don't mind. What a lovely problem to have, real first world problems.
Now, I know many of you will be more interested in the French, or interested in the French as well. So if you head over to Miniature Wargaming Warriors, Ken has been very lucky to also receive some early review stock, and he'll be reviewing the French infantry and the French light cavalry there. And I'm just going to pop a link in the show notes, and I'll also pop a little live link at the end of this video.
So love to hear your comments below. If the game's not for you, you know, please don't hate me for liking it. I'm sorry. So if you're new to the channel, do check the rest of the channel out if you've stumbled across it because of this video. But anyway, thanks for watching. Please do like, share and subscribe, and I will catch you all soon, guys.